Well, welcome back to the Reading and Writing Podcast. My guest today is David Yoon, author of the new novel Version Zero. David, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Jeff.
Sure. Well, if someone hasn't yet heard about your new novel, Version Zero, how would you describe the novel?
Well, it's a thriller about the internet, specifically about this brilliant internet entrepreneur who he's in his late 20s, and he really believes that tech can make the world a better place. And so when the giant social media company that he works for is discovered to be doing shady things with user data, he blows the whistle and is immediately fired and blacklisted in the industry and sets about exacting his revenge on the big five tech companies for their sins against humanity. And it involves like an escalating series of hacks designed to expose the inner workings and show how our internet sausage is made. So it was that part especially was a lot of fun to write, thinking about how to break the internet.
And I'm curious, do you remember the original idea or impetus that led you to writing Version Zero?
Oh yeah. I mean, I before I, started writing full time, I worked in tech for over 12 years. I started out doing web design and moved into user experience, which is the design of the overall product, from not just the interface, but also how to get customers on board and how to keep them and how to get them to do what they want to do, but also how to get them to do what you want them to do as a business. So there's a psychological aspect to it. And, I worked for everything from social media startups to corporate marketing, advertising, cybersecurity. And one company I worked at was involved in ad tech, that's the technology responsible for tracking your behavior and serving ads that, match that behavior. The funny thing about that job is everyone I worked with, to a person, had ad blockers installed on every device. So we're literally like the non-smokers working at Philip Morris. That's what I like to call it. We made this product and none of us believed in it. And that was my aha moment. I was like, okay, there's a story in here somewhere.
And I'm curious, what was your writing journey? You just talked about working in tech and specifically marketing and user interface design. What was your writing journey that led you from that to writing and getting your first novel published?
I mean, to be honest, like I've always wanted to be a writer. My first story was in like third grade, and I remember reading it aloud and making the whole class laugh. And I was like, I like this. This is great. And, my second story that I read out loud completely bombed. And so I was like, okay, let's figure this out. And, from then on, I majored in English in college. I went to get my MFA at Emerson College, where I met my wife, Nicola. And together, we just sort of been encouraging each other in writing while working our day jobs. And we had no idea how to get published, no idea how to get an agent. And so it really was a matter of time, just a steady drip of work to build a body of work that you could show an agent. When an agent did show up, we were ready. And the rest is, it's it's a combination of like hard work, just blind faith and luck. And so I first got published, yikes, it was like almost 4 or 5 years ago now. My debut novel was called, Frankly in Love. And it was actually a young adult novel, kind of a rom-com coming of age. And after that was, Super Fake Love Song, which is also a rom-com coming of age. And so Version Zero marks my first adult, novel, like a novel specifically for grownups.
And I'm curious, when you wrote the YA novel, did you write it knowing that it was YA, or did you focus on the story first and then realize that it could be marketed as a YA novel?
I actually was approached to write a YA novel because my wife hit it really big with her first 2 YA novels, Everything, and The Sun Is Also a Star. And just through those contacts, they were like, oh, you write too? Send me your stuff. And lo and behold, a lot of the stuff I was writing involved what we would now call middle grade and young adult. I don't know. I just was kind of obsessed with figuring out that period of life where, you're struggling to define yourself, as your first time as an adult. And separate yourself from the grownups in your life, like your teachers and your parents. and figure out what you're going to call yourself and what you're going to be literally when you grow up as an adult. I don't know if that's like, because I so vividly remember what it's like to be a teenager, or just that I'm fascinated with the idea of defining yourself. Because I don't think that period stops, to be honest. Like, I think, you redefine yourself at various points in life. It just depends on how aware you are that you're doing it.
And I'm curious about your MFA experience. How did that go for you, and how did that impact your writing?
Oh my God. Like, if you can afford it, get an MFA. I know it's really expensive and everything, but it was magical. It was like we're in Boston, we're at Emerson College, we're just running around the city. We're going to bars and smoking cigarettes and talking about writing and art and poetry. And it's a place where you can find people who are as obsessed with writing as you are, like in a really serious way. I tried starting my own writers groups because I was just working and I wasn't in school yet. And there's a lot of people who are not that serious or just kind of flaky or have wildly different ideas about what writing means to them. And so an MFA is a really good place to just concentrate and find people that you can later network with and really cheer on. And so everyone I met, kept in touch with, writers like, there was Wendy Wonder and Greg Rosenblum who wrote YA books, and we network and help each other out and encourage each other. And so it's a great place to do that too.
And I'm curious about your writing process when you're working on a novel. Was it kind of the same for you when you were working on version 0 as opposed to your young adult novels? Do you plot extensively, or do you kind of work on the narrative and see where it takes you? What's your process?
I tried plotting extensively. I did that once. I made a whole beat sheet and this super detailed outline. I thought I had the master plan. I thought oh, now all I got to do is fill in the blanks like a muralist, and it sucked. It was like the result was just what? It made no sense. Because I was just kind of blindly following along my own blueprint. And so what I've been doing lately is, my friend, he's also a writer, David Arnold. He said that it's kind of like, it's a loose outline. So think of it as taking a road trip at night. You know what cities you're going to hit. You just don't know how you're going to get there. All you can see is what's in front of your headlights. Let's assume this is before GPS.
Right.
But yeah, and so you have a general outline of where the story needs to go, how it's going to end, what midpoint and all that stuff is going to be. But you give yourself room for spontaneity. And that, I think, is really important to the artistic process.
Well, I'm curious if you can talk about your work with Joy Revolution and what that is.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. Me and Nicola feels weird to call her Nikki. We're both super duper immensely proud of Joy Revolution, because when we met in grad school, we were in our first writing workshops together. And we pretty quickly found out that each of us were romantic goobers, and, we love rom-coms and romance stories. And we also complained that, we never saw people of color in them, in a capacity that was not sidekick or lab coat technician, or, they were never the heroes.
Right.
And we would talk about this throughout the years, and we tried to, we didn't know what we were doing. We were like, maybe we can have a short story contest that we just fund for fun, to encourage people of color to write their stories. And it was only until Nikki got published and I got published that we had relationships at Random House children's books, and that we were able to go to someone like the president, Barbara Marcus, and be like, hey, we're thinking of making an imprint for love stories starring people of color, written by people of color, for everybody, but specifically to provide a safe haven for readers of color, to just get swept away by a good story, and not have to worry about racial trauma and, stereotypes and things like that. And she thought about it for, a shockingly short period and was like, yes. And now we have a boutique imprint with the backing of this giant, 8,000-pound gorilla in the publishing industry. It's kind of a fantastic combination, and we're super excited about it.
That's great. And so have you published your first books yet?
We're aiming for 2022 for a list of about 4 to 5 books. And so we've gotten tons of manuscripts, and the volume and the high quality of these manuscripts, it's so inspiring that there's all these writers out there just dying to be heard. And I don't know. I think it's a real honor to be able to read their work first and have the opportunity to publish it and get those voices out there.
That's great. Well, given your writing success and your writing experience, what writing advice would you offer for those who are working on their own stories and novels?
First, I always like to quote Margaret Atwood, who I kind of worship. And I saw her at, this is forever ago, at the Canadian Embassy in Tokyo, of all places.
Wow.
And I forgot to bring my book for her to sign, and I drank too much free white wine, and I just made an ass out of myself at the signing line. I was that guy. But she was like, my advice is read, and write, which is, read everything you can get your hands on. Read stuff that you might think you won't like, because you never know where inspiration will come from. And then write. Really, like, you can start by copying your favorites. Write crazy stuff, write conventional stuff. Just find your particular voice, and that, because the creative skill is a muscle, and you need to exercise it. Otherwise, you're not gonna know what it's capable of. But honestly, practically speaking, like, I would say just keep writing. It's so hard. I mean, you probably know this. Like, you're writing, you're working your day job. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You're getting tons of rejection letters, and it feels pointless. But honestly, like, you're building a body of work, and that's really key, because when opportunity does come knocking and that agent says, "What else do you got?" you can just say, here's a ton of stuff to read.
Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection? It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now enjoy a large iced coffee for just $2. Add a breakfast sandwich to make a meal. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
The stockings are hung and the shopping has begun. This holiday season, shop Cincinnati favorite gift cards at Kroger. Grab a gift card to La Rosa's and enjoy a warm slice of pizza. Or snag a gift card to Grater's and treat yourself to something sweet. Whoever you're shopping for, you'll earn 4 times fuel points on Cincinnati favorite gift cards. Head over to giftcards.kroger.com/Cincinnati-favorites to complete your shopping list and support our local businesses. Available in Cincinnati, Columbus, and Louisville markets only. Restrictions apply. See website for details.
That puts you in a great position, and if it clicks, it clicks. If not, then you keep going. But it's a way of staying disciplined. And if you do get signed, what I wanted to say was, like, if you're not signed and you're working on a novel and you don't think you have enough time to write a novel, my other advice to you is, like, set a goal of like a page or 2 a day. And you still get your weekends, you still get your vacations. I've done the numbers. If you write a page or 2 every day, which hopefully you can find the time for, by the end of a year, you will have the first draft of a novel. I guarantee you. And you still, like I said, you still get your vacations and you still get your weekends. So it's totally doable. Oh, I think I lost you.
Whoops. Are you there? Sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted to circle back to the conversation about social media and digital media and your new novel, Version 0. You talked about, working at this behavioral targeting or ad targeting company, and everyone who worked there was using ad blockers. And I'm sure you're very familiar with, as you said, the Big Five and social media and the ongoing kind of discussion and conversation about, the impact that the impact social media made on the events of January 6th. And I'm just curious, like, obviously you've done a lot of reading and thinking about kind of the digital landscape for this thriller Version 0. I'm curious, just in talking about real life, do you think the genie is out of the bottle? And where do you see things going?
Oh, geez. Yeah. It's so hard. Every technology, once you establish it, we just kind of use it. And the funny thing is we think we get good at it, but we actually don't. Like car technology. it is like very advanced at this point and everyone's used to it, but we're not necessarily good at it. We still crash all the time. You know what I mean? And
Right. Yeah.
like television has become more and more sophisticated and more ubiquitous, but that doesn't mean we've gotten any better at it. The programming hasn't gotten any better. When television was first invented, they had all these lofty ideals about education and opening the world up to people,
Right.
kind of like the internet. And it quickly turned into advertising and game shows and stuff like that. And so I think the internet's going to be the same. I think social media is going to be the same. We're just, once you have technology, you never stuff the genie back into the bottle. All you can do is kind of manage it. And there's so much talk about managing your social media. I know people, especially in the YA world, because they deal so much with teen audiences who are very, very online. They talk about taking, digital detoxes and social media breaks. And so there's efforts. You can see people are trying to grapple with managing this technology, but never leaving it because you can't. At this point, if you're not on social media and you're a public person, it's kind of weird. People start wondering about you. Like, what's wrong with this guy?
Gotcha. Well, what novels or nonfiction books have you read recently that you enjoyed?
Nonfiction, I got to say Caste by Isabel Wilkerson, which is, it's not specifically about racism. It's about the caste system in America that we sort of never learned about in high school. And she breaks it down in a very dispassionate, blameless way. Like, this is our power structure in America, and this is what it looks like. And we happen to use race as a power signifier, but it's not anyone's fault. Like, we didn't make it. We're stuck with it. Now the question is, what do we do with it? So it's a really thought-provoking book that I think provides like real answers and awareness to the problems in this country surrounding race. And the nonfiction book that I read recently is, I read Max Barry's The 22 Murders of Madison May, and I just idolize that guy. So I did a panel with him last night, and I was fanboying like crazy. I was like, I'm talking with Max Barry. But I also read The Memory Police by Yoko Ogala, which is this really surreal tale I found was perfect for quarantine. It's about this village where people just start forgetting stuff. And actually the memory police are like, okay, this time we're going to forget flowers, no more flowers. And the next day, all the flowers go away. And the thing is, everyone's okay with it. And it's really interesting. It's like the opposite of nostalgia. You just kind of have to experience it to realize how similar things and a similar attitude is happening in our current lives. What we're okay with letting go, what we're okay with turning a blind eye to. It was a fascinating book.
That's great. Well, where can people find you online if they want to learn more about you and your novels?
I guess the source of truth is always my website, davidyoon.com. And I'm mostly on Instagram, but increasingly I'm being forced by society to go on TikTok, which I'm not happy about, but I'll do it.
Great. Well, again, we've been speaking with David Yoon, author of the new novel Version Zero. The book is on sale now, so go buy a copy. And David, thanks for doing this interview.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Great. Now, stay tuned for a brief excerpt from the audiobook of Version Zero by David Yoon, read by Kevin Free and Vivi Nguyen. Available from PRH Audio, wherever audiobooks are sold.
Max was 26. It was way back in the year 2018. Summer, remember? Hashtags and don't text and drive and fear of missing out and virtual reality. Selfies and the troll president and revenge porn. All that. Max walked in the white Californian sunlight. He walked into a village made of glass. The village was Ren. Ren was the world's largest social network. A social network was a computer program where many, many people could share their thoughts, photos, videos, and also share other people's thoughts, photos, videos. Then they would talk about it all. Sometimes fight. Mostly fight. For some reason, this kind of thing was hugely popular in the year 2018. Ren's only product was Ren itself. It had been started by two college kids who worked hard and pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and exhibited Yankee ingenuity and blah, blah, blah. Everyone used Ren. Everyone loved it. Everyone hated it. And as strange as it sounds, Ren was everything. People used it for news, for gossip, social plans, dining tips, political views, dating, shopping, driving directions, blah, blah, blah. As strange as it sounds, 3 billion people used Ren every day on their smartphones. The people could not stop themselves. They said they were addicted. Back then, being addicted to tech was considered a good thing. Tech meant anything involving computer programs, especially the ones used by many, many people. It was different from technology, which meant non-computer things, like building bridges and inventing medicines. Max wore a hoodie. It gave him entrepreneurial elan. All CEOs in the tech industry wore hoodies, as symbols of egalitarianism belying their positions of supreme power. Tech CEOs could probably get everyone on the planet to chew more gum with a simple edit to their news algorithms if they wished. But they did no such thing, for they were good men. Ren's number one rule was this: don't be evil. One day, Max wanted to be a CEO of his very own Ren. Max wanted to put a dent in the universe, but in a good way. His benevolence, CEO Maximilian Portillo. For now, Max was in product. He walked across the colossal hexagonal green populated with Rennies playing volleyball, holding yoga poses, or lying about. 3 men, Mexican maybe, were setting up some kind of epic barbecue. They eyed Max as he walked past. "I am not you," Max wanted to say. "I'm supposed to be Salvadoran, but I was born here. My Spanish sucks. So, you know." Max felt the constant need to explain himself. He felt it now. He entered a glass building. He passed Maurice, the African-American security guard. He waved to Amy, the ever-smiling white woman at reception. He passed through the large bullpen full of brown-skinned programmers from India and Thailand and so on. Max, though brown-skinned, was not one of them. Ren put the programmers on the first floor as a show of prowess for visitors. The popular belief was that really good programming could solve all social problems, like housing, or racism, or bullying, or sexism, or deceit, or greed, or loneliness. Anyway, Max passed through marketing with its many white women and arrived at product with its many tall and hale white men. Max was not one of them either. Max had long given up on being one of anyone. He decided to simply be one of himself. This meant Max had no tribe to speak of, which Max disliked, but it also exempted him from the expectations and assumptions of a tribe, which Max liked. So Max chose his own tribe, product. And despite being the only brown-skinned one there, Max did not feel like a fly in milk. Maybe it was because Max was happily deluded. Maybe it was because product was Max's play space, a mental sanctuary where he could dream up new Ren features and generally make up his own rules as he went along, as conjurers do. Max was senior product, the youngest ever in Ren's 10-year history to achieve such a rank.
Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection. It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now enjoy a large iced coffee for just $2 and a breakfast sandwich to make a meal. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
The stockings are hung and the shopping has begun. This holiday season, shop Cincinnati favorite gift cards at Kroger. Grab a gift card to La Rosa's and enjoy a warm slice of pizza. Or snag a gift card to Grater's and treat yourself to something sweet. Whoever you're shopping for, you'll earn 4 times fuel points on Cincinnati favorite gift cards. Head over to giftcards.kroger.com/Cincinnati-favorites to complete your shopping list and support our local businesses. Available in Cincinnati, Columbus, and Louisville markets only. Restrictions apply. See website for details.